The next person who is going to speak is County Clerk David Orr, and you can come on, right on up. And Helen was his aldermanic aide in the 1980s, and as I was thinking, I get to do the fun stuff of writing the recommendations to name parks. It was so hard to get that biography down to a short enough page to put on one form, but I will say this, that she brought so much vitality to everything she did. And now I'm going to welcome Cook County Clerk David Orr. Thank you.
This is marvelous, this weather. It's great to see everybody, so many old friends. But first I want to particularly thank all of you that worked so hard to make this happen, and particularly, of course, the Doria family and the friends. Talking about Mundelein College, if you're maybe a little bit younger, Mundelein College is where Loyola University is. Loyola took over Mundelein years ago, where I taught and met these wonderful people, including Helen Doria. And then, of course, I knew her from all the neighborhood activities. I knew her from work in the aldermanic office, knew her from her work with several mayors, so in lots of different ways. Again, when you think about Helen, you can't think, she was such a dynamo. Everything she did, she was such a strong woman. She touched so many people in our neighborhood, all across the city, through the aldermanic office, through the mayor's offices, through the park district, and many other ways. She was a progressive woman. She was a principled woman. She was an avid listener and a great friend. And those two, probably avid listener and great friend, go together. All of us, even big politicians like me, talk too much, but Helen would always get whatever she could by asking questions of you about your life and your future and so forth. So she taught us many lessons. I just want to focus on one briefly, because she did something a lot of us want to do, but we can't all do. She followed a dream. She had a gut. She wasn't sure what it was. When she was with Katie and the gang at Mundelein, she knew there was something that she could do, and she had this talent. And she worked in the neighborhood, worked at the Heartland Cafe, she worked in my aldermanic office, but she knew there was something else driving her. It was a gut, it was an instinct, but not quite sure. One spark that helped move this, and by the way, there's a lot of friends from the aldermanic office, and Helen, we're glad to appreciate all of you being here. But that spark happened in the mid-'80s when she was working in our office. Just quickly, there was another struggle at another, not we call beach, but we call Burger Park now. And it was a bunch of old mansions in Edgewater, just at Granville, just south of Devon. And there's an order of priests that were going to sell the property and have high-rise development to continue the canyon all the way from Hollywood to Devon. Well, we didn't like that idea, and Helen and others in our office at the time, but they led the fight to prevent the mansions from being destroyed, turn one mansion to the Park District, and later to the first ever cultural arts center run by individuals. And I think that helped to move Helen toward this dream. And then finally she figured out a little bit more what she wanted to do. She got a job with Harold Washington, still can't hear, huh? Got a job with Harold Washington, and that's where this other career of hers took off. And this incredible talent. She had an eye. She had an eye for what people want when we think about culture and music and art. She had this eye that real talented culture should reflect the diversity, should reflect everything about society, not just those who maybe can afford to go to the museum or whatever. So that's what she brought. She brought that incredible vision and talent to the work. Ever after that, she made all those wonderful people that perhaps Joe and Forrest and others will talk about, including the Lois Weisbergs of the world. Perhaps we should be naming Millennium Park after her, but I won't. But again, it's not easy for everyone to follow that dream, but she stuck with that gut. I hated to lose her from the aldermanic office because of her talent, but she did find that dream, and the rest is history for what she did. And while she left us, unfortunately, so early, this dedication today and this beach, and I love the way Katie and Sue and Barbara talked about that, because she was a beachaholic. She was down here, and she appreciated nature and our surroundings, and that affected everything she did to bring so many wonderful things to this city. So I'm so excited for this dedication today of a woman. I couldn't think of anybody else that deserves it more. So thanks to all of you who brought this. In particular, the Doria family, you deserve everything that's happening today.
Now, my voice is usually so loud they beg me not to use the microphone, but let me know if you think I need to get closer to it. The next speaker couldn't be here, but really, really wanted to, and that is the 9th District Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. She was friends with Helen, and, together they were movers and shakers in our city since the 1980s. Congressman Schakowsky sent these remarks that I am going to read from her. Helen Doria was a beloved friend and a relentless booster for the city she loved. Helen has left an indelible mark on the artistic and cultural life of Chicago. She was an enthusiastic and effective advocate for the Chicago Park District, public spaces for Rogers Park, and for bringing cultural programming to all Chicago neighborhoods. So many of the festivals and the concerts and places that we now take for granted in Chicago, including Millennium Park, are the result of Helen's creative and tireless work. It is such a fitting tribute to Helen to name the space so near to her home, the Helen Doria Beach Park. Those of us who knew her and loved her should make sure that the children and families who visit the park learn about the incredible woman in whose honor it is now named. May her spirit remain an inspiration to all of those who want to make their communities more beautiful, livable, and healthy. And that was such a nice message, yes. And now the next speaker is Alderman Joe Moore. And Alderman Moore knew Helen for a long time, and I think from what I've heard from the very beginning of his career. So come on up, Alderman Moore.
Maybe I should take Katie's admonition and take off my shoes. But I won't do that. One thing that a lot of folks don't know about me is that I also have Southwest Side roots. The first 10 years of my life, my family lived in Oak Lawn. And let's hear it for Oak Lawn, yeah. And Katie and Helen and Sue, the rare times that we ever saw the lakefront, and usually it was on the other side, the Michigan side, when my family would go on a rare vacation. It was like the Riviera to me. And so when my family moved from Oak Lawn to Evanston when I was 10 years old, I was at the lakefront beach just about every day during the summer. It was that special. And so when I moved to Rogers Park and lived within a few blocks of the lake, it continued to be a very special place. We just recently, as you recall, a lot of the same folks were here. We honored another great Rogers Park woman, Toby Prinz. Just one block to the north is the Toby Prinz Beach and Park. And isn't it fitting that these two beaches are side by side? Yes. It absolutely is. And the love that both these women had for our lakefront and for our community is unmatched. Toby Prinz lived a great, long life, did many great things. Tragically, Helen's life wasn't quite as long. But it's not how long you live, and we all want to live a long life, but it's not how long you live that's important. It is what you do with the time you live. And Helen packed a lot in her relatively short life. Her love for the lakefront, her advocacy for the parks, her advocacy for the arts, and not just advocating for the arts, not just advocating for our parks and beaches, but making sure that they were open and accessible to not just to the elite people, but to ordinary, everyday folks. Making sure that arts programs were accessible to neighborhood kids and folks who ordinarily weren't exposed to the arts. The same thing with the parks and beaches, working to preserve them, working with Forrest Claypool and in the parks and Lois Weisberg at the Department of Cultural Affairs. She was a remarkable woman, and as was noted, I've known her my entire adult life because I moved to Rogers Park right after I graduated from college, entering adulthood, and immediately got involved in politics here with David Orr's organization and office. And Helen was a big fixture in that office, strong woman, kept David in line. Very few people can, but Helen was one of them. And I really was inspired by her love and commitment to the Rogers Park community. And later on, when she first with Harold Washington and then with Mayor Daley, I always gave Mayor Daley and I had our differences, but one thing I always gave him a lot of credit for was making sure that Helen Doria was part of his administration. And so we are here today on this picture-perfect day. Can you imagine any day nicer or more appropriate to honor Helen? I just want to thank Donna Vitale, Brandon Neese, who came to me with their idea. And of course, immediately I leaped on it and said, let's do it. But, we got to do the process. I learned from David Orr, you got to do the process. But it was good we did the process because more and more people learned about Helen Doria. People who had never had the pleasure and honor of meeting her learned about her life, and learned about her good works. And now we have a permanent record right there with that sign that advertises us as Helen Doria Beach Park. And for generations now, families and children and individuals who come to this beach and enjoy this beautiful lakefront will know a little bit about Helen Doria and what she meant to all of us. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity